Welcome to Obsidian TTRPG Let's learn how to use the tool. Alright, g'day guys and welcome back today to another Obsidian video. Today we're going to be having a look at the Patreon Vault. Alright, so for anyone who's new to my videos, I have a Patreon for people to support me. It's completely not required, but one thing it does have there is the Patreon Vault. Now the Patreon Vault is basically a foundation vault. This is it that you're seeing here in front of you. It comes with all of the plugins that I recommend, all of the templates that I use. It comes with a theme. It does not come with any content. That's for you to add in yourself, with the exception of a couple of examples, but it's basically designed as a foundation for you to sort of download and kickstart your journey into Obsidian really easily without having to jump through all of the copious amounts of educational learning that I've gone through. All right, it's designed to start you off in a bit of an easier way. And it's got some stuff here to make your life easier. So what we're going to do today, though, is we're going to jump into the Patreon Vault. And one of the questions that I commonly get is, Josh, we've got these this DM board here with some buttons on how to create templates. How do I change it to use my templates? Or how do I add a new button to use my new templates? So we're going to jump into that today and show you how to do that. So let's check it out. All right, so first thing, let's jump in and just understand what's involved in making these buttons work. Okay, and if we come over here to the DM board tab, you'll see this is where the buttons are. The buttons are made using the MetaBind plugin and the Templater plugin. All right, so let's just quickly open up the settings. We'll go to Community Plugins. If we come down here into the installed list, keeping in mind this comes with the Patreon Vault, we've got MetaBind by Moritz Jung, aka Lemons. He's part of the TTRPG community. You'll see him regularly. So fantastic plugin that we use for all sorts of stuff, but particularly buttons. There used to be a buttons plugin. The buttons developer has recommended that people stop using his plugin and move over to MetaBind. That's how good it is. And the other one there is Templater. All right, so by Silent Void. Templater is a fantastic one as well. So these are the two ones that are there. These are really, really popular, useful plugins in the Obsidian community. These guys have done a fantastic job. Now, the easiest way, like say you're starting from here to sort of jump in and have a look at these things, is to, from here on the file section, come into DM Toolkit, and you've got the DM board here. All right, open it up in the center pane here. You'll notice that I've got it connected up here as well. All right, and all that is, guys, is I've just dragged that out and dragged that into here. Right, that's literally all I've done. All right, and you can do that with any note. All right, and that's all this is. It's just literally a note that's dragged in, and then I've right-clicked and I've pinned it. Now, the reason why I do that is if it's pinned in the left pane, when you click a link, that link will open up in the primary window. All right, so usually in the center. But once it's here, we can come into source mode and have a look. So we'll turn reading mode off. We'll go to source mode, and here we can see the code for the buttons. All right. So each button is basically represented by these tick, tick, ticks with the MetaBind button, and then it ends at the tick, tick, tick. This is one button, all right? Now, in this case here, we've got a label. It's pretty self-explanatory, right? So new journal entry is the new journal entry. Is it hidden? No. If we hit to true, it will actually disappear. All right, so obviously it's going to be visible. You need it. Is there an ID? I don't use that. Although we can use that down here, and I'll show you that in a bit. Style, primary. There's actually different types of buttons. All right, just so you are aware of this. If we come to Community Plugins, scroll down to MetaBind. All right, you can actually see here that we've got all of the documentation, but up the top usually, check out the docs. Always look at the docs, guys. 90% of the questions that I receive are answered in the docs. All right, we've got button groups, button configuration. All right, so style, primary, default, destructive, and plain. Let's just quickly have a look at this. All right, so we've got primary at the moment. This is a default button. This is a destructive button. And this is a plain button. All right, so you can go ahead and use those however you like. I like the primary look, all right, with the theme that I'm using. It looks quite nice. I like the blue with the white, but you can have different buttons. You might want to use one blue, then one red, then one blue, then one red. You can do whatever you like. Now, actions, this is the important one. So when the button is clicked, what is it going to do? All right, so the action type for this button is a templater create note. All right, and the templater file that it's going to run is this one here, and it's going to create that with the file name new journal. Now, you might be asking yourself, how do I create these new buttons? Like, I don't want to learn that code, I don't want to remember it. You don't need to. You right click, you go metabind, and you basically come here, and with all of the metabind stuff, you can pick what it does, but the button one actually opens up a wizard. So, you can actually write my button. We can go a icon. I haven't tried that yet, that's cool. All right, here we can set the style, and you can see here you can actually change what that looks like down there. CSS class, so you can actually create some CSS and set the class name here, and it will actually stylize the button. That's actually pretty cool. That's probably more advanced. I'll probably do a separate video on that. We can make a tooltip. All right, we can have an ID. Button 1. It's not hidden. And then importantly down here, like when the button is clicked, what do we want it to do? All right, and you can see there's a lot of options here. Now, you can play with a lot of these. I'm using templater create note, okay, which adds the action. And you can see here, it looks like you can actually have multiple actions that are coming in and doing things. All right, so that's how you do the button. Now for the templater file, so you can actually pick the templater file. All right, that's pretty simple. The folder to create a new note in. Now this is actually pretty cool, and I think let's just run through and have a look at this actually, because some of these is where I've actually changed the way I'm doing things. Where's my session journals? We're just going to do it into there. File name, new journal. Kind of don't want this. I'm going to remove that one. There we go. All right, so we're going to create a new templater using that. We click insert. That creates this text for you. Okay, so that's super simple. Now you can see here I've got a few variation differences on mine. So I've put in quotation marks, not necessary according to the plugin there that it made itself. So I find it is easier just to use that with some complex strings. The folder path where it gets made, the file name, and open true. Now, what's actually going on here, right? And the reason why mine is different to this one is I've actually got more advanced templater code in my templates that move the notes to a new folder. And that's probably not actually necessary, right? It's actually like Metabind has simplified that process quite significantly. So let me just show you what I'm talking about actually. Z templates, new journal. Pull this here. All right, so this is the template that's been triggered. All right, so this is where they are. They're under Z templates, and I've got these ones here. These are the templates that have been triggered by the buttons. If we have a look at this one here, okay, this is the button that says new journal entry. That is triggering Z templates, template journal MD, that one there. So it's triggering that. When that triggers, that template is a template, okay? And this little bit of code here is actually what's triggering. So when it gets triggered, it's basically the first thing it does is it says we're going to move it, all right? And we're going to move it into session journals, all right? And then the name of the file is going to be the TP file title, all right? So, which is already handled. This here though is a little bit of cool code. And what this basically says is when it creates, or when it detects a file with the name new journal, all right, we're going to prompt the user with enter date, all right. That's going to put up a pop-up window asking you to say enter date. You type the date as the user, and when you press enter, it actually renames the file to that. All right, so that's what that is doing there. Now you can see here, what I was rambling about before is that there's some new code in here that says where do you want this to go. All right, so this bit here is actually taking over the need for this bit here. All right, so you could remove that line in your new templates and just use Metabind all right, and then that will achieve that bit, but then you still want to have this bit here to do the rename. All right, so anyway, we've created a button. All right, we want our button obviously to be capable of, triggering a new template that you've created. So what do? We would come over here. I would come into Z templates or wherever you want to keep them, and go new note. Now, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to right click and actually make a copy. It's going to be called Template Journal 1. I'm actually going to try remove this. All right, just to do what I say. I put Amanda in there just so it's got a difference in the note, so I can see that there is actually a physical difference when I actually trigger this. So I've got Template Journal 1 now. I make my properties for my own personal template. I can put whatever I want in there. For you guys that are using my Patreon Vault, you'll see Note Icon. Note Icon is quite important, guys. Note Icon is setting the icon that is used by the actual notes. If you'd like to add more of those, what you can do is actually come down here to Supercharge Links. You can add a new Note Icon value in here. Okay, so you can see I've got one for journal. All right, so you basically come up here, you click New Selector, I think it is. You're right, you go Attribute Value, Note Icon, you enter the name in here. All right, and then you click Save. That will add it to the list. All right, and once it's in that list, then you can go to Style Settings, and you can expand out Supercharge Links, and you can actually see here that we've got all of these ones here, and the new one that you just added will be listed here. All right, and effectively all you need to do is expand out the one you want to play with. Here we've got a prepend option and a pend option. All right, so if you wanted to add a different icon, you could press your Windows period key, or whatever it is that you use to open up an emoji. All right, and you can just click an emoji and you add that in, and that will now add it to the front of those notes. Wherever that note is linked, it will also add it in there. So it's a really useful sort of functionality there for changing what that looks like. So yeah, go through and do that. Most of this stuff here is actually for other plugins. Like this is a session journal one, so you'll modify these properties according to whatever you want to have in your note, right? No, none of that is actually necessary. This is the only one that I'm probably really using in every single template. All right, then we come down. We got this bit here, and this is what I said before. This is the one that's prompting the user. All right, and this is important because here, where it says I'm going to create a note, but what is the note going to be called? I'm going to change that to New Journal 1. All right, and here, when it gets prompted, we're looking for New Journal 1. Now that's important. You need to make sure that whatever you put in both the template and the button is unique, because it's a check. It's saying, when this button is pressed, I'm going to look for this name. All right, and then the note gets created. All right, and it's obviously if they're both the same name, then the template code will trigger, and then you can do whatever you want to do. Now, assuming that you want your note to actually, or your template to prompt you to say, hey, enter some information, right? And in this case here, most of the time I'm entering the name of the file. You just copy this bit of code in there, right? So you're going to change this to match the name of the note that's going to be created. And then in here, you're going to change the prompt. And the prompt is when the message pops up, it says, hey, I need you to enter some information. This is what's displayed. You can change this section here to anything that you like. And that's the message that the user will receive. And then this bit here is basically, it's renaming the file. All right. And then down here, you've got the content. All right. So in here, you can put whatever you want. All right, this is the note content. Now, I get people who are sometimes a little bit confused saying, oh, I'm looking at the template and it doesn't look right because there's all this funny code. These templates, when you've got templated code, are specifically designed to only look good once you've actually run them through Templater. All right, so right now this is a template. This is a framework of the changes that are going to occur, and we're going to go through and do that. Now, I'm just looking here, and this is doing my head in. Just a pro tip for you guys. If you don't like the dual columns in your properties, you can come down here and turn the hover properties columns off, and that will put it all back into one. And If you're like me and you like to use multiple panes sometimes, that can be really handy. The dual properties column CSS really works nicely if you've got a really large working space that you're constantly using. So just heads up on that. All right, so we've got our template. We're now ready to rock and roll with that. We've got our button. We've got the names match. We can change this. We're going to run template journal1.md. The folder path is going to go into session journals. It's going to be called new journal 1. All right, so therefore we are good to go, I believe. So let's go ahead and put this into reading mode. We now have our button, and if we press our button, it prompts with the enter date. You can see here I've decided to put this in. No, you can type anything, all right? Just because I've written YYYMMDD, it doesn't matter, right? It's just you can enter anything. All right, there we go. This is note. It is run. It's renamed. This is note. And what we're looking for is, here we are, it moved that note as well. So this is note. So there we go. Pretty easy, right? It's just that it confuses people because there's code in two places. All right, there's code in the button itself, which is in here. All right, and then there's also code in the actual template as well. So you need to make both things. So simple process, if you want to create a new template for yourself, copy a template, call it whatever you want, update it, all right, and then come up to the buttons section, create a copy of the buttons and modify that to work with the template, and off you go, and that should be nice and easy. Now, while that worked perfectly, I just wanted to speak about this down here as well, because I added a new button type for the button quest. And that was, honestly, guys, that's me learning how this works. Okay, I was just, I heard about this functionality. I wanted to try it, so I thought I'd have a crack at it. Now, this here, where is this? All right, so button quest, because you see the button quest is not defined anywhere in here. It's actually just defined here. So what that is, if we go to settings and we come down here to meta bind and we come in here to button templates, all right, you can edit templates. You'll see here that I've got a button quest, all right, and what you can actually do is go add a new template. We're going to edit this and new journal 1. I don't know how these work. Oh yeah, there we go. Shield. Oh, okay, that's cool. So that's new. That would be working off of the... it'll cover it in the documentation for sure. Icon. An optional lucid icon to display the display. All right, there we go. Let's have if we do a search for lucid icon. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here's the lucid icons. So you can come in here and basically select the ones that you want to use. All right, this will be a shopping cart for you. So in this case here, if I type in shield, there's all these different shield options. And I could probably just grab that name, come in here, paste that, and I get that shield icon. So there you go, that's how to do that. All right, set your style, set a CSS class if you want. This is tooltip, just like we did before, right? And then, this is the important bit, this is the ID. So I'm just going to put in here new journal 1. I'm going to put the same thing. And we're going to put an action, template to create node again. All right, we're going to find our journal 1. Where did I put it? New journal 1, there we go. And we're going to put it in the folder, session journals, file name, new journal 1. All right, so exactly what we did before, just repeating it, and click submit. And that is now in here. And we can save that. And then what we can actually do is just down here, we can just type that name. All right, and then we get the trigger ability. All right, so that's another way that you can do buttons. And I quite like that. That's quite clean. It is worth noting as well that what you can do with this is actually stick them in line. All right, you can stick them next to each other. Now, looks like that shield is changing the way that looks. So for anyone with OCD that's looking at that going, oh, that looks terrible, I reckon that shield would be what's doing that and changing it so it's just slightly, ever so slightly, in the wrong spot. So if I was to put shield in here, there we go. See how they've lined up a lot nicer now? So if you're going to use rows of buttons together, I always recommend like you use the same style, right? If you're going to use icons, use an icon on all of them, right? Because CSS tends to like flow things a little bit out when you're doing things like that. But yeah, that's an option. And just another call out for you when you're doing these inline ones, right? If you are using tables, all right, so this is column 1. Sometimes what I will do when I'm using these things, in order to lay them out nicer, is actually stick them in buttons, right? So this way you could have a new quest, and you could actually have a new quest here, or you could have some text or a picture or whatever, right? But it is a capability of an inline button to add it into a table, is what I'm trying to say. So hopefully that will be useful for you. But there you go. All right, that's how to create a new template effectively, right? And you can put whatever you want in your template. Whatever you stick in your template, stick your properties up the top, so the note will populate with that. Stick the content down in the bottom, and that's what will basically appear in your thing. I've actually been going through working on some new templates that will come out with the Patreon Vault. Playing around with ideas at the moment, and just to speak to my design philosophy, I'm trying to create templates that look good in reading mode. All right, sorry, in live preview mode. All right, so this is live preview mode here. You can see that when I switch between live preview and reading mode, not much changed. All right, and that's what I'm trying to get to. But if we go down here and have a look at the other template NPC that I've made, all right, you see here I've used the ITS info box on the right, which makes that wiki style right-hand side call out. And I love those, all right, but the one thing that I don't love about those is if I switch out of reading mode, it looks like this, all right, and that's because live preview mode doesn't actually support the floating CSS style that's being used to achieve this. All right, so it's like, I'm in two minds because I quite like the new table support with Obsidian, and I think that moving forward they're going to add more functionality that will specifically work in live preview mode. So I'm trying to find something that looks nice but works in both modes, and just plain callouts at the moment seems to be the way to do that. So watch this space. I'm going to play around with the idea a little bit, create some templates potentially that don't rely too much on things that don't work in live preview. And I think that will make it easier for me to use live preview more successfully in my workflow. All right. Anyway, guys, that has been how to basically create new buttons. Okay. How to create new templates, how to link a button to a template. Hopefully that's easy enough for you to follow. It's easily probably like 70% of the questions I get about the Vault these days are about how to do this. So hopefully it's useful for a few of you guys. All right, so I just want to say a massive, huge thank you and shout out to all of my patrons. You blew me away this month. For anyone who follows me closely, you probably know it's been a pretty challenging month in my household. We've had a fair bit of sickness. But, everyone is starting to get a little bit healthier, which is fantastic. And you know what? Having you guys there supporting me has made that easier. So thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means an absolute lot for me, guys. Thank you. I know it's only like a couple of bucks for some of you, but for me, it's been enough to make life a little bit simpler. So yeah, thanks. Now, for anyone who is new, I have updated the website, or new or old. I've updated the website. Hopefully it's a bit clearer now. I've taken away the gimmicky AI buttons because I had a place in my heart, but they're a little bit overboard. But now what we've got is we've got these buttons here, right? So if you are new and you're looking for help, guys, I see people constantly asking for help on YouTube and stuff. Like, don't go to YouTube. Come to the Discord, all right? The reason being is you can post pictures, you can share your files, your config files, your things that you're doing. You can share with us a lot easier, and it's easier for us to therefore support you. We also have voice channels, right? So if you're having a lot of trouble with something, you can jump into the voice channels and we can jump in there with you, and we can screen share and we can share tips. We can help you get through your issues, suggest ways to do things in a different way maybe, but it's a lot easier to do that in real time with screen sharing and voice chat. So anyway, jump in there and have a look. Obviously, the Obsidian official Discord is also a massive resource, right? If you're looking for help with Templator, all right, then I would recommend you go there, right? Because there is a copious amounts of people who use Templator in the official Discord, because it's not just the TTRPG community, it's everyone. All right, and of course, if you would like to support me, feel free to jump over here to the Patreon link. Anyway, guys, outside of that, I want to say a huge, massive shout out to everyone. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you're enjoying your use of the tool. And hopefully these tutorials are making your life easier. But anyway, enjoy, and I'll speak to you all on the socials.